When people think about Nazi Germany's defeat in World War II, they usually imagine giant battles like Stalingrad, Normandy, or Berlin in 1945. But behind every battlefield defeat was a quieter catastrophe: the collapse of Germany's supply system. The German army did not lose because German soldiers fought poorly or because it lacked advanced weapons. Germany lost because it could not sustain industrial warfare economically or logistically. The Third Reich attempted to fight a continental war with a transportation system designed for a much smaller European conflict. German strategy assumed rapid victory because the economy could not survive a long war. Once the war became a contest of production, transportation, fuel, and replacement capacity, Germany was trapped. At the center of this problem stood a little-known officer, General Rudolf Gerke. He was not a glamorous panzer commander. He did not lead famous offensives. Most people have never heard his name. Yet he controlled one of the most important systems in the German war machine: transportation logistics. His job was brutally simple in theory and nearly impossible in practice. Move millions of tons of supplies from German factories to the front lines across thousands of kilometers of hostile territory. The German army depended overwhelmingly on rail transport. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of the war. Popular culture portrays the German army as fully mechanized. Images of panzers racing across Europe created the myth of a modern motorized force. In reality, most of the German army still moved like a First World War army. In 1941, the German army used roughly 600,000 horses during Operation Barbarossa. Some estimates rise even higher later in the campaign. Entire infantry divisions relied on horse-drawn wagons for artillery, ammunition, and food transport. German logistics worked in layers. Supplies originated in factories and depots inside Germany. From there, railways transported supplies eastward. Supplies arrived at army railheads near the front. Army supply columns collected them. Then trucks, horses, and wagons moved them forward. And last, battalion-level units distributed supplies directly to combat formations. The system depended on railroads functioning continuously. If rail transport failed, everything behind it collapsed. Fuel delivery stopped, ammunition shortages appeared, food distribution failed, spare parts vanished, tank operations slowed, and infantry mobility collapsed. German operational doctrine required speed, but speed consumed enormous amounts of fuel and maintenance capacity. Blitzkrieg was not merely a tactical system. It was an economic gamble. Germany had to win quickly because prolonged logistics favored the Allies. General Gerke served as one of the key transportation chiefs of the German army. Though rarely discussed in mainstream history, he occupied one of the most critical positions in the German armed forces. He oversaw military transportation planning at a scale almost impossible to imagine. Millions of soldiers, hundreds of thousands of vehicles, thousands of trains, massive fuel consumption, and a continent-sized battlefield. Gerke understood something many German commanders ignored. Logistics determined operational reality. Panzer generals demanded rapid advances. Hitler demanded impossible offensives. But rail conversion, rolling stock shortages, locomotive maintenance, and transport bottlenecks imposed hard physical limits. Germany's military leadership often behaved as though logistics could simply be willed into existence. Gerke knew otherwise. His transportation system was expected to support campaigns stretching from France to the Caucasus, while Germany simultaneously fought naval and air wars against the Western Allies. No European economy before 1945 had ever attempted logistical operations at this scale. Operation Barbarossa exposed Germany's greatest logistical weaknesses immediately. The Soviet railway system used a broader gauge than standard European railways. German trains literally could not run on Soviet tracks. This was catastrophic. Every kilometer of captured Soviet territory required railway conversion before German supply trains could operate effectively. Railway engineers had to tear apart existing tracks and relay them to German gauge standards. This process consumed labor, steel, time, fuel, and security forces. Meanwhile, Soviet retreating forces destroyed bridges, rail depots, switching stations, and locomotives wherever possible. The deeper Germany advanced into the Soviet Union, the worse the logistical strain became. Distance itself became an enemy. Every liter of fuel sent forward required additional fuel to transport it. This created a compounding logistical burden. German offensives therefore became victims of their own success. The further they advanced, the weaker they became. One of the most famous logistical disasters of the Eastern Front was the Rasputitsa, the seasonal mud periods in the spring and autumn. Roads in large parts of the Soviet Union were primitive even in peacetime. Heavy rain transformed them into oceans of mud. German supply vehicles became trapped constantly. Horse-drawn wagons sank into the ground. Trucks broke axles. Fuel consumption skyrocketed. Repair capacity collapsed. Entire offensives slowed to a crawl. The German army had planned for operational maneuver warfare. Instead, it encountered terrain conditions that destroyed mobility. This had devastating financial implications. Every immobilized vehicle represented lost production investment, wasted fuel, maintenance costs, and increased replacement demand. Modern wars are industrial consumption contests. Germany's economy could not absorb these losses indefinitely. Germany's greatest strategic error may have been underestimating industrial mobilization. Hitler believed wars could be won through operational shock and political collapse before industrial imbalance mattered. But World War II became a production war, and Germany lost badly. The United States represented an industrial giant unlike anything in history. American production achieved absorbed scales. over 300,000 military aircraft during the war, more than 88,000 tanks, millions of trucks, and massive oil output. Most importantly, America mastered logistics. American industry standardized production as well. Supply systems became streamlined, truck fleets expanded massively. The Allies understood Germany's logistical vulnerability increasingly well as the war progressed. Strategic bombing shifted toward transportation and fuel infrastructure because these systems form the arteries of German war economy. Destroy the railways and factories become isolated. Destroy fuel plants and mechanized warfare stops. Destroy bridges and operational mobility collapses. By 1945, Germany's economy was disintegrating physically. The story of German logistics in World War II contains a major modern business lesson. Most companies focus obsessively on production. More products, faster scaling, bigger expansion, and aggressive growth. But many collapse because they ignore logistics and sustainability. A business can increase sales rapidly, expand into new markets, and build impressive products, yet still fail if distribution systems break, supply chains become unstable, infrastructure cannot support scale, and operational complexity overwhelms the management. Germany's war economy suffered from exactly this problem. The Reich expanded faster than its logistical and financial systems could sustain. General Gerke understood a truth many strategies ignored. Transportation determines strategy, not ideology, not propaganda, and not even battlefield victories. Supply systems decide whether armies continue fighting. Germany's logistical collapse was not merely a military problem. It was an economic inevitability created by resource shortages, weak industrial depth, fuel dependency, and strategic overexpansion. The German army could win operational victories for years, but it could not overcome arithmetic. And modern economies cannot escape arithmetic either. World War II was not decided solely at Stalingrad, Kursk, or Normandy. It was decided in railway yards, fuel depots, factories, supply offices, and industrial planning boards. Germany attempted to conquer a continent without the economic infrastructure necessary to sustain continental warfare. Its armies outran their railways. Its tanks outran their fuel. Its economy outran its finances. The result was inevitable. The German army collapsed not because Germany stopped fighting, but because Germany stopped functioning. This is the ultimate lesson of the German army's supply distribution system in World War II. Logistics and not production wins wars. And increasingly, it wins businesses too. I hope you enjoyed this episode. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.